Today we return to the wonderful world of capital budgeting. Recall that we've talked about payback period, discounted payback period, net present value, and profitability index, all as ways to kind of determine whether we should undertake a capital project or not. In this episode, we're going to look at internal rate of return. Now, we're not going to look at the discount factor and hurdle rates as such. What we want to do is kind of what people do intuitively. Hey, if I invest in this, what's my rate of return? And the rate of return has to take into account the money that we actually put in. And we're going to use the IRR, internal rate of return function, in Excel. Now, we look at the different cash flows in each period. We'll have a minus 5,000 in this example, followed by 2,000, 1,000, 3,000, 4,000. If we put that in a range, and I'll show you in another video how to do that in Excel, you come up with 28.93%. That's a great return, right? One of the things that's going to be very important, and I'll reinforce this again when I get into Excel, is one of those numbers in that range has to be negative. Again, I would strongly advise that the negative number is the cash that goes out and the positives are the ones that come in. It may also be when you do IRR, you might get a # error. That'll happen frequently if you don't have at least one negative number. Now, how do we know whether to do a project or not? Well, if the internal rate of return of the project is greater than my hurdle rate, I do the project. So in this example, if my hurdle rate was 15%, my internal rate of return is greater, I do the project. You can kind of think of this intuitively too. If you had to borrow money from the bank at 4% and you could invest it and get 7%, you would do it. Right? You would borrow money and then invest and make more money. That's the same thing here. But if you borrowed it at 4% and could only make 3%, that would be dumb, and you wouldn't do it. And the same thing here. Your hurdle rate in the example I just gave is the cost of borrowing the money. And your internal rate of return is what you'd expect to get. Now, internal rate of return and net present value are similar in that, and this is kind of a weird concept, but if you think about it, it actually makes sense. The internal rate of return is the rate, the discount rate, that makes the net present value 0. And you can actually put this to the test. You can try this for yourself. Calculate the internal rate of return, and then take that value you get and plug it in as the discount rate and calculate the net present value. And you'll see that it equals 0. Now, it's possible that there might be multiple solutions to internal rate of return when future cash flows might be negative. You really don't want to use the internal rate of return then. You just go back and use the basic net present value.